Welcome to the doghouse. I hope you're all having a great day today and going to have a great night tonight. I'm always having fun from the doghouse. This is going to be about when does it become should not be on YouTube or podcast channels. What is being out there? When does things need to stop? When does things need to go on? And I'm not talking about legally or not legally, but ethically. This is a more of an ethics thing, and there'll be other things in here too. And what I'm getting at is like Lisa and Dave has a conflict, and it's good to know what's going on to a point because others have contributed to, and I think some people may have got a wrong impression because I don't have nothing against Dave. This Dave, I don't even know who he is. Some do, some don't. But everybody, because what happened, will be cautious of going forward. And that's good. Finding out more is good. But to go in and be logical of what's going on, okay? And critique what's going on, that's all well and fine. But the bottom line is them two have to work it out, or if you don't, then so be it. But it's up to them two to work it out and get a clear picture of what's going on. As far as the money in goes, it was a gift. You don't have to give that back. That's up to them two also. But what I'm getting at mostly is the fact that all that's well and fine and needs to be done. But when you go after each other, criticize each other, to because you're causing hate and discontent, and you're dividing and getting conquered. And that's something we can't do. And at some point when you do that, is it really smart to have it out on YouTube where your opponents, or not your opponents, I just said that, but the other side sees it and gets fodder from what you are doing because your ego gets in your way? This guy could be right or wrong. Like I said, what's going on and it's being handled. Everybody has a right to their opinion. But when it goes over and causes problems, like I said, for hate and discontent, and giving the other side fodder, is it worth it being out on the internet or YouTube? Does it create a problem or help solve a problem? When you look into somebody and what they're doing, you're trying to solve a problem. But when you're doing it because of hate, discontent, because you don't like somebody, and you're willing to sacrifice to divide and conquer, and you don't realize you're dividing and conquer, and all of us has done that, no exception. Is that really should be out there on YouTube? Or should the two people be handling it themselves and move on? Just like everybody's going to have an opinion with Gabe, and that's fine, and back him, and most people do. But at some point, it's Lisa and Gabe has to actually physically do what they need to do. That was brought out on a channel. See, this is what I'm getting at here. It should have never brought out on the channel because it has nothing to do with anything. And bringing it out, somebody brought it up. That's well and fine and needs to be done. Anybody that has done that has been in the right, not in the wrong. Well, when it comes out and other things come out, you need to do a little research on the whole thing. Opinion's one thing. Like on this Dave, you can have an opinion one way or other, but you still have to check and see what's going on. That's all well and fine, but he don't or nobody else deserves to be criticized for the sake of starting something. If you're out there saying, oh, this happened, all well and fine, you're not out there causing fodder for the other side. And people are taking care of what is needed. But on podcast channels, just not here, it's all over, sometimes we forget about what is real and we start just saying stuff that has nothing to do with anything, and it becomes hate and hurt instead of helping. That's one thing that comes out a lot on these channels. They would rather hate and hurt than take care of the problem. Example with Jeremy and Lynette. And let's say, just for example, and I don't believe this by any means, so don't get on here and get down my throat. I back John and Lynette. But let's say that Jeremy was right and he needed to sue them. He needed that protection order against them, which he didn't, but in this case, he did. Well, no way as much you could come on here and say, I had to do this or I had to do that. But when you go as far as he has, do you think maybe that's for content? And when he's putting it out there, or his minions put it out there, is that for protection of people or is that for money content? And you're out there, you're going to put stuff out on for money, don't get me wrong. But in this case, what is going on should have never been put on YouTube. Now, other people are commenting on him, even like me, because it's out there. But in reality, it should have never went that far. If he had a problem with them, it should have been handled in the courts and sued and left completely off of here. The only reason you would do that is if you know you can get clicks and views and dollar signs. And there's other things that happen. Even just normal day things I see on other podcasters' channels. And I watch a lot of them because I don't watch a lot of TV. So some things just shouldn't be on here at all. If you have a fight with your wife and somebody call the police, it shouldn't be on here. That should be handled without it being on here. That's pushing the narrative too far. When you go out and find somebody just to harass, and put it on here or any other podcast channels, that's wrong. It should not be on here. That everybody has the freedom of speech, and I'm not saying don't have freedom of speech, but sometimes ethics need to come involved. There's no ethics going after, I call them a couple, but a couple and a child. There's no ethics when you go on here. There's no reason except one or two, and you can figure them out why you would do that. When you're on the other side and causing problems because you don't like what somebody did, the other side's going to laugh at you because you just they're conquering and dividing, so they keep putting it out, or you keep putting it out and putting it out. You're falling into their trap. Because some of this stuff, if you have a problem with somebody, and I don't care who it is on here, there's emails or you can talk directly to them. You don't need to put it on here. The people that do that are after money the majority of the time. They care less. Now, if you see a public figure or whatever out and about and they're doing something wrong and you put it on here, that would be justified. And I'm not talking Jeremy as a public figure. You know, you see a law enforcement do something wrong and you have it on camera, show it. That don't mean you go create a problem, then show it, because it's a false problem to start with, and you're going to put it out there for clicks and views. And there's a difference. Some things should never ever be brought up on here. When you get so personal and they attack you, that stuff should never be brought up. And I don't care whose channel it is, because, like I said, when you have an opinion, that's good. I like to see and hear opinions of different people on different subjects, and I wish more of that would actually show up. But you can't go after everybody and expect not a confrontation to exist. I wish more people would, though. I do more research and look into certain people. That's where I have the kind of draw a line. That's good, needs to be done, and there's a lot of people out there doing that, and thank God they're there. But then when you start putting negativity up or causing problems to despite your own face, then that shouldn't even be on here. I see people from all walks of life on different channels and on YouTube. You sit there and wonder, why in the hell are they putting this out? This is not right. Yes, you can put it out, perfectly legal, nothing illegal about it, but your ethics has taken a back seat sometimes for the dollar signs. And ethics, sometimes and common sense needs to be done before you put stuff out on any podcast. But there is a line, and that line is not an illegal line if you cross it. It's an ethical line. That'd be like me finding somebody on here I didn't agree with, which I agree with most of the people that I follow. If I don't agree with them, I kind of shy away for the most part. But all of a sudden they say something like, "That's ignorant. That's just not right." Her his view or politically or just opposite me, I'm going in and trash him and make them look like a fool with no other rhyme or reason, just to do that. And whether I agree with them or not, I'm going to put it out there, because it'd be good content. Well, ethically, should you do it? Legally, you could, but what about ethics? Have we gotten so far in life that sometimes when we put stuff out, ethics takes a back seat? Have you ever scratched your head and go, why? And to the point we all get caught up in it. And the point I was trying to make yesterday, and most people got it, or not all of them, was when you go after each other when you're trying to have a cause, you some of them went beyond making sure this other person was right or wrong, or if he was in the right or if he was in the wrong. Like I said, that was okay. But when they went after each other, you know dang well the other side was sitting there, conquer and divide, and even his minions. Conquer and divide and laughing their ass off because you fell for it. And it had nothing to do with Dave. It had to do with what you did. Like I said earlier, this certain guy, you're always going to have a little bit of conscience of what he did, right or wrong. You don't have to hate the guy, but you will always be cautious of this. And like I said, I don't have a problem with the guy myself. Others do, but you shouldn't be going out there. If you're going out there and trying to find more, all the more power to you. but to put some of this stuff on there just to divide others in the same cause, and that's what we're happening. That is why if it's on your channel, it stays on your channel. Don't feed it off to another channel. They're laughing at you guys that are doing that. You're doing their dirty work for them. So you don't need to do that. There's no reason to have some of that out there. And I'll repeat this. I want more information and all that, and I want to see it. That's one thing. But let's have some ethics when it comes to things like accusing people of stuff, lying about people and putting it on here. And we have seen that from another guy on here who will put out lies, and other channels who will put out lies. Yes, they can do it. Yes, they can have the freedom of press to do it. Yes, you have the First Amendment rights. But what about throwing a little bit of ethics in there too? They're doing nothing wrong legally, but ethics sometimes have to play a point in your life and what you're doing on any, not only YouTube, any of them. Sometimes it takes ethics. People cry about, well, they should do this channel and that. No, they don't need to do that. Your ethics and conscience should dictate a lot of this. And the majority of the people it does. Now, I've heard people cry about, like, Facebook. Well, they're not doing any fact checking in that. The problem with that, the fact checkers sometimes needed fact checked. Because even Zuckerberg said some of them had their own political agenda, and that's what they were going off, not what a real fact check is. They could do that. Does it make it ethical? No. It causes problems in the long run, but at least he's getting away from that. That don't mean I want to hear a bunch of crap that's not true out there, because it is out there. And put on a podcast channel just to be doing it? No, I don't think that's right. Ethically, no. Legally, yes, you can. Legally, they have every right to do that, and I would never take that right away. But sometimes you have to have a little bit of ethics in what you do. That don't mean you can't go out and have fun and joke around about somebody or make memes or prodigies. That's all well and fine. But when you intentionally go out there and try to hurt somebody by lies and putting them up there to degrade a person, that's wrong. Yes, once again, you can put it out on these podcast channels, but what about ethically? And there's a bunch of people out here that has threw ethics to the side to gain their own little minion group, I guess, whatever you want to call them, because they will put out, they've thrown their ethics away, several channels on here, throwing ethics out the door for money. The money means more to them than any ethics there could be. Now, in the Bible it says money is the root of all evil. It can be the root of all good too, but some of this stuff out here, the money, the root of evil is money, does apply. You can make all the money in the world, all the more power to you. But ethics have to be part of what you're doing. When you throw away ethics, you're doing the evil of money. Some of you have a clue, some of you won't, but that's fine. But getting back to some things that shouldn't even be put on here. As people on here, podcasters, you have to make a choice. Don't give up your freedom of choice, your freedom of the First Amendment. Fight like hell for that. But sometimes ethics need to be involved. and not put on here or any podcast channel. Not because you can't, but maybe some of you guys out there on these other channels, not all of you, the ones, some of you know who I'm talking about. Maybe ethics should be come back into your life. Maybe ethics needs to reappear, and maybe ethics need to dictate what you're doing a little bit instead of evil and money. Use ethics, use it where it needs to be, use it on this site, use it on other sites. If you're putting something out for the wrong deal just because you can, ethically you're not right. Legally you are. Think about it. There's two different things here. We forgot about ethics. And a lot of times I stop and think because I'm about ready to say something I shouldn't. Ethically, I could, but I don't want to go down that path. So when you see me stop all of a sudden, it's probably I was about ready to say something that wouldn't have been ethically. It would have been okay, but ethically, I wouldn't have liked it. And I've done that all my life. You can sit here and say like the cow jumped over the moon. Me reading it, it may be the over the moon because I will think ahead. I have to slow down, otherwise it gets bad at times. But that's me. But we really do need ethics on what goes out. Information, good. Trying to destroy a person with lies is bad. You can put it up, but let ethics guide you on what to be out there and what not to do. These channels are fun to be on. They're very informational, and I love being on them and listening. Mostly listening. I've learned more by a lot of people on here than I have for some time. As far as in my little circle in town and whatever, that's fine. I always learn more that way. But what this brings in a wider band of information, and it needs to get out. Things that are not ethical should be put on the side, not because it's illegal, but use some ethics once in a while. Thank you all.